Kung Fu Panda is a really wonderful series. It's one of DreamWorks' best work. Dare I say, it is their dream work. And I've had some fun cracking it in the past year and a half. I started by making my Oogway theory, which is what I am revising today. Then after I got my microphone, I made another video, which was honestly crappy and subpar, but I was still getting used to the whole microphone setup, and I prioritized that, unfortunately. But because my Oogway theory had some worth to it, I figured I'd revise that one. For those of you who don't know, when I say revise, I mean I'm taking one of my older videos and warping what I originally came up with, making it much more improved. Usually the revision ends up being much different from the original, so I'm hyped to get into this. Hello, I'm the Theorizer, and I'm preparing to mass upload a ton of videos at once, and this will be one of them. So what I'll be doing today is altering my first Kung Fu Panda theory. In this theory, I discussed how certain things in the movies weren't very logical, and I explained how they could be logical and how it totally changes the story. The Po is dead theory is my second one, and I want to steer as far away from that one as possible, so we'll only be sticking to the parts of my original Oogway theory. Let's go. Master Oogway is a pivotal character in the Kung Fu Panda series, and when I saw him in the third, I was all like, "Oh yes, I be prepping for this since movie number duh." But Oogway's a fairly suspicious character. He's not evil or anything, but there's a lot in which he hasn't revealed. You probably haven't wondered about this, but I have. Am I the only one who finds it bizarre that Tai Lung was just dropped off on the porch of a martial arts training station? Like, I realize that it's a kind place with people who can care for him, but it's also a place of constant peril and danger, with its inhabitants being masters of violence. I just find it a bit odd that anyone in their right mind would actually do this. Po's mother abandoned him in a radish box, but that was because she was about to be murdered by a feathered freak. But let's come back to this in a minute. We know that Oogway's lifelong goal for Shifu was to help him achieve inner peace. And how does Oogway go about doing this? He uses Po. If you haven't noticed, Po is ultimately the route to Shifu's inner peace. A student who can be taken under his wing, or his gigantic Dumbo ears, and Po's actions lead Shifu to finally mastering inner peace, putting his frets about Tai Lung to rest when his own student finishes the job. But what is the relevance of any of this? Well, prepare to have your whole perception of Master Oogway changed. My theory is that Tai Lung was a failed attempt. Oogway always knew who the Dragon Warrior would turn out to be: Po. So why even bother with Tai Lung? Inner peace. A baby snow leopard at the front door of a martial arts training academy. Old Oogway pushing his student to his potential. Oogway put the baby at the door. Sounds a bit far-fetched, let me explain a little more. Right there, right when Shifu opens the door, it's been put there. And this is exactly the kind of thing Oogway would do. A child. Raising a child is a route to inner peace. Becoming a parent. It changes Shifu, but Tai Lung turns sour and undoes all the peace Shifu gained from raising him. As we see, this affects Shifu in detrimental ways. He can't even hurt Tai Lung. In DreamWorks' rendition of China, you can openly adopt anybody. The best and most immediate example, of course, being the feathered flyer of Mr. Ping. He openly adopts Po right after finding him. So tell me just how far-fetched it is for Oogway to do the same. This is all supported in how Shifu and Oogway act. I find it genuinely hilarious that Oogway, a tortoise having total control over his immortality, kills himself right as he predicts Tai Lung has escaped. He isn't cowering, and he isn't randomly dying. He is simply letting Po do the work. Po needs to be the Dragon Warrior. Shifu's student needs to succeed, and Shifu masters inner peace, just as Oogway had so desperately wanted him to. Tai Lung, the student that failed at encapsulating the image of the Dragon Warrior. Oogway has a pattern of sending Shifu unique kids, but this one backfired, and hard, leading to a Dragon Warrior versus anti-Dragon Warrior 1v1. Oogway is smart. He plans things centuries ahead of time. It's just how he is. Random baby on the Jade Palace steps. Sneaky old bag with his perfect pink peach tree. Hear what Oogway's constant motto is: there are no accidents. No accidents? then how could you mischievous millenarian, have ever even considered Tai Lung in the first place? To have not intervened sooner? How could you consider him to be the Dragon Warrior in the slightest? If you're so psychic, then why would you allow Shifu to train him all those years? If you are a prophet that lacks accidents and can detect if someone is a legend or abomination just by looking at them, then why would you start all of this to begin with? The answer is really simple. Realizing the fault in Tai Lung immediately, Oogway let Shifu train him. It kept Shifu preoccupied with happiness, but simultaneously, this had him trained into the anti-Dragon Warrior. Shifu's inner peace is this reptilian reject's main priority. In his not final words, he says that Po must fulfill his destiny just as Shifu had to fulfill his. And what is Shifu's destiny? To let go of the illusion of control. Oogway speaks in allusive riddles and metaphors, and right here, he is referring to how Po will become the Dragon Warrior. He is telling Shifu that things will flow as they should, and that Shifu can't have control of every aspect. From this perspective, Tai Lung's rage is extremely justified. He rambles on about how it was Shifu who pushed him to training until his bones cracked, and it was Shifu who filled his head with dreams of becoming the Dragon Warrior. I even translated Tai Lung into English, and it translates to Great Dragon. And finally, he says that it was Shifu who denied him his destiny. Okay, Tai Lung, hold up. Even Shifu says that it was clearly Oogway who denied your destiny. It was Oogway who chose not to intervene all those years, building up your passion to crush it. And it was Oogway who taught Shifu how to train harshly. So honest to God, what else could Oogway have done that night? Why would someone dash up the hundreds upon hundreds of Jade Palace steps when they can just as easily drop off their child in a town populated with plenty of kind, safe people? In the spirit realm, Oogway tells Po that he was to be his true successor, and that he chose Po as he could tell he symbolized the yin and yang. He saw the past and future of Kung Fu when he looked at Po. He also implies to Po, and literally tells Kai, that he set Po on his path so that Kai would be stopped. That's what the Dragon Warrior is. The protector of Kung Fu, bearer of the yin-yang, defeater of Kai, and Oogway's successor. Which leads to the final question, and the very interesting implication of, if Po is Oogway's successor, then was Oogway the original Dragon Warrior? Oogway's symbol on his cape is of a yin-yang symbol composed of a long serpent-like shape, with spiraling appendages. A dragon, perhaps? I don't know. It's meant to be art and therefore metaphorically displayed, so how about the fact that the Jade Palace is modeled with dragon imagery everywhere, and it was Oogway who built it? It's just that all of this is an implication of Oogway's logic, but this is all for another theory entirely. And so, before I finish off today's video, there was something else that I noticed, which may or may not be correct. The first movie's villain is Tai Lung. He is a vicious, enraged, active villain. The second movie has Chen. He is much more graceful with his movements and usually avoids physical contact, preferring the usage of sophisticated weaponry. The yin and yang represent two halves of the universe. Yin is the passive, female, earthly aspect, and yang is the heated, active male side. And these two villains wanted to become both the yin and the yang. Tai Lung wanted the Dragon Scroll, which embodies the yin-yang, and Chen wanted to literally become it, but both failed. Do you know why? Because they both only demonstrated one half. Po, on the other hand, shows all aspects of both sides. That is what Oogway saw in him, his calmness but also his extravagance, his body shape and colors. And the third movie has Kai, who represents both halves, but he is sort of like an anti-yin-yang, demonstrating everything that it shouldn't. So that's my theory on Kung Fu Panda. Wrong or right, I still think it's a very interesting topic for discussion, and I don't want to be accused of slandering Oogway like in my last video. Regardless, these movies are my favorite DreamWorks movies. Next to, of course, a couple others, but they're definitely in my top 3 favorite franchises. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't, and recently YouTube has been a bit broken, so click the little bell icon next to my channel name, and you'll certainly be notified whenever I upload. Until next time, I'm the Theorizer.